here with at CPAC Mexico with the president of Mis amigos migrantes, pues aquí estoy.
Total catastrophe, and it is a crisis.
Of a child, right there. All these NGOs, you're fake. It is this, the crisis of children. Thank you so much for joining in. I'm Oscar Blue for Real America's Voice News. God bless everybody that is watching. We are live today. It is Sunday. It is April 13 of the year 2025. The time is 5:42 in the evening, and we are live to all of you that is in right now sharing. Give it a like to this video. Share this video. Give it a like to this video. Hit that bell button on YouTube. Hit that like button on Facebook. And also hit that important button on X. So we are live, and this is the topic of today. So the president of El Salvador, Nayib Bukele, who has been a great ally of the United States of America, has arrived now to Washington. And he is, he basically came to the United States to talk about the situations with the dangerous gangs that they have been arriving into the United States for some years now. And that ultimately these gangs that they have been arriving to the United States as the MS gang and the TDA gang, which we were the first ones to call this out in 2021 when they were coming in a caravan. This is the reality. Now, back when Biden was president, Nayib Bukele wanted to come over here and wanted to talk to the Biden administration when Biden was president. Pardon me. And Joe Biden closed the door to Nayib Bukele. Why? Because he's a right-winger, right? And his politics are more based to right-wing, or as the progressive liberals say, right-wing. And Joe Biden completely shut the door to Nayib Bukele. He shut it completely. Then Nayib Bukele had to find a way to get his country out of this crisis that they were living at the MS gang. Complete crisis. Now the country is one of the most, it's apparently the safest country in the world. And, and just fake news media are saying that San Salvador, it is the unsafest country, it's the safest place in the world. This is the fake leftist, progressive, mercenary, disgusting media, which they always going to acknowledge for anarchy, division, Marxism, communism, and the disaster that is happening, right? Disgusting. Other than that, all the other media and people that we have gone into El Salvador, I have gone into El Salvador and interviewed the Minister of Security, Villatoro. We noticed that it's a great change in El Salvador and that President Nayib Bukele arrived to Washington to talk to Donald Trump. This is going to be one of the greatest meetings that is happening right now in terms to law and order, and in terms to bringing law and order back to the continent of America. This is his arrival, according to the New York Post. You play right here for everybody to.
Oh, word, word. Hi. 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 Hi.
This is President Nayib Bukele arriving to the United States, uh, going to go meet Donald Trump. I hope that that meeting goes well. You already know what is the meeting about. Meeting is about immigration. Meeting is about security policies. Meeting is about the multi-centered confinement of terrorism that is the most secure prison for terrorism in the whole continent of America. Meeting is about how they are going to tackle this problem and how the strategy to tackle this problem it can trickle it to a first class world country. This is unbelievable. Now you have a president of the United States of America. Now you have a president of El Salvador, which is asking and which is actually bringing a solution to the United States of America of how to tackle a problem with a violent gang, how to tackle a problem and how to dismantle disorganized groups, how to basically, collectively, with every institution of the government of the United States, how to work to identify these criminals and to ultimately, at the end of the day, they are terrorists. So they need to be put where they are need to be put. That is the reality. Now, I want to say something to the people. We done some so much extensive work. Real America's Voice News, my colleague Ben and myself, nobody has worked so hard on this immigration topic as going through the seriousness and going to the particular situations and consequences of documenting the disaster of immigration and open border policies of Joe Biden and Alejandro Mayorkas and the consequence that it has done to the whole continent. The question is, has the Trump administration hit them right in the pockets to the cartel in Colombia? The Colombian cartel was making millions of dollars out of this crisis. And I'm not saying they were making thousands. They were making millions of dollars out of this crisis. The Colombian cartel, Clan del Golfo, was making millions and millions of dollars, making millions of dollars out of that jungle in the Darien Gap, making, creating businesses, creating these shopping carts where they were selling all kind of accessory for the migrants to cross the Darien Gap, these tourist packages, these tourist boats, all of this. The Colombian cartel was profiting. Migration of China, migration of Afghanistan, migration of Yemen, migration of Iran, migration of Nepal, migration of Pakistan, migration of Bangladesh, migration of Cameroon, Congo, Nigeria, Burkina Faso, every country that you can expect from Africa, migration of a lot of countries from the Middle East, migration of all countries that they were coming from South America. They were profiting like a mother, man. The Colombian cartel was profiting like no other. No other, no other cartel. And they were basically making millions and millions of dollars out of this. Has the Trump administration put an end to that? According to the Panamanian government, 99%, 99%, 99% has decreased the level of people walking through this jungle. Isn't it crazy? I walked through this jungle 4 times. To see this jungle alone for 99, my God, I don't even know how to explain it. 99%, you got to be kidding me. 99% it means 99% less of rape, 99% less of people dying, 99% less of children drowning, 99% of men being assaulted and being also raped and dying, 99% of women being raped, abused, and dying, 99% of all decomposed bodies, 99% of diseases, 99% of less of being people being infected by malaria, dengue, 99% less of all of that. If that 99% implies that the border securities and the border policies are going to decrease. 99% of people dying. My God, hip hip hooray for that 99%. And I will tell you why. This is video of us recording at Necoclí, Colombia. Necoclí was the mecca of distribution of migrants into the north of the continent, into the United States. We have been saying this for years now. This was a legitimate business, and everybody was running businesses through the suffering of migrants. Now these businesses are alone. These businesses are empty. There's no more businesses profiting out of selling accessories to migrants before they enter the jungle. Listen, this is Colombia. Look, this is a banner, which it was, these villages like La Miel, Capurganá, Acandí, they're beautiful. So they're vacationing spots, right? But they were also promoting this. And these are the majority of these boats companies, they're owned by, cartel bosses. And they pay a monthly to the cartel for them to operate. So you had these banners, which they were explaining how much the tourist package, and you needed to go to a hotel to get the tourist package. So you go to the hotel, you pay this tourist package, right? And the tourist package, it gets you all the way to the jungle, in the middle of the jungle. It includes, the stay in the hotel. It includes the transportation in the boat to the end of the island. It includes you going to the shelter getting paid off by who? By the money grants and the federal grants that the government of the United States of America were releasing into these NGOs, that they were profiting out of these open border policies. So you had these tourist boats, right? This is the tourist location. Look at all these accessories. They were selling boots. They were selling all kinds of things. And all these businesses, now they're done. Nobody's profiting out of human misery. All of these businesses selling tents, selling the knives, selling things so you can put in your cell phone, so you can put your things, selling all kind of selling, like, these kind of backpacks in the front, tents, lighters, boots, stoves. All of these businesses, they're done. Look at how many shopping carts. It was like a shopping cart, fiesta. Everybody was making money out of the migrants. Now there's none. Now it is done. And evidence was comparable with us going there, was the main reason to show you how these businesses were booming, and everybody was making millions of dollars out of it. Now with this immigration policies, being so strict and so powerful in the borders of the United States of America, now everything, it's canceled. Now somebody's asking, what will they turn to next? I will tell you why. What? So a 3-hour boat inside of the Darien. That was the whole thing. 3 hours inside the boat. 3 hours inside the Darien. All of this, packages. Look at the full boat. We were in this boat going into Capurganá. All of this. All of it. All these boats were tourist boats, full with people, full with migrants. Every single one. Look at this beautiful island. It's beautiful. It's paradise. But every single one profiting out of this illegal, and the cartel was making millions of dollars out of it. And every single boat was packed. There was not even one seat that it was left, that it was empty. Every single, and you got the authorities from Colombia not doing anything. That's my immigration authorities not doing anything. They were part of it. They were being paid off. Of course they were being paid off. They were being bought off. Of course they were being bought off. Now, you guys remember this, the rape kit. We found this and we discovered this. This rape kit that was containing, Plan B pills and condoms for men. This is done. You're not going to see it anymore. They're done. So if you're telling me right now at this point in juncture, that because of this border policies, all of this is done, and you're getting mad that the policies are so strict, that the policies are so strong, that according to the fascists, that they're the leftists, they're the fascists, to the imperialists, the leftists, you're the imperialists, to the progressive liberals, to the racist progressive liberals, to all of you, saving lives in the middle of the jungle and stopping the cartel from profiting out of human misery. You are totally against that. You want that to continue. You wanted death to continue. You wanted suffering to continue. Now that is over. These border policies, this is one of the reasons why Nayib Bukele is arriving over here to Washington to talk about the border policies, how they are going to control how the United States is controlling the borders, but how they're going to handle basically the deportations with the TDA, the Tren de Aragua. It's a topic now. I was talking to somebody and he was like, Oscar, you talked about the Tren de Aragua way before it was news. Yes, we talked about it. And a caravan, I remember 2021, I remember when they were going at it. And I said, this gang, it is going to you guys. And it is violently going to be arriving. Now, what is the other thing that the cartel is exploding right now? And that they open up another market. And I have said this before. And it's said it multiple times. Thank you so much. Somebody bought me 5 copies. Thank you so much. Buy me a coffee. It is right there, pinned in the chat. Completely appreciate your donations and contributions. Let me see who bought me. Thank you so much. As an anonymous says, God bless you and your family. Thank you for always giving the truth and facts. Thank you so much. It is pinned right there in the chat. Thank you for your contributions and completely appreciate you guys. We're traveling soon, but we need your support. So let's get into it. So this is the reality. Now, what has happened? I don't know if you guys remember when I went to Colombia. I went to Cartagena. I went to study some other things that they were happening in this place in Colombia, how the Colombian Cartel Clan del Golfo, it is so in cahoots with the TDA. And they're so, relying on each other. The Colombian Cartel Clan del Golfo, they rely on the TDA to be their sicarios, to be their man on the floor so they can manage the whole disaster of operation, the extortionists, the rape, the stealing, all of that. It is the Tren de Aragua. They use them for that, right? And one of the things that the TDA does, it is the exploitation of women. The exploitation of prostitution in women. A lot of them, they're Venezuelan, and a lot of them, they're young. They're 10, 12, 9, 10, 12 years of age. And they exploit all these women. And they take advantage of them. And they sell them to modern day prostitution slavery. It's a reality. One, pimp to another pimp to another pimp. One buyer to another buyer to another buyer. And this was another thing that it was quite, for me, drastically changing my perspective of how these people have opened up so much their market, that they use the women for them to trap the men and then kidnapped. And this is why so many Americans, somebody saying children, not women, you're trying to correct a situation which I'm explaining. Some of them are young ladies, but I am identifying them as women because there's so much of a difference and so much of difficulty right now with the stupidity of pronouns and identification. So for me, there's only 2 sexes, male and female. So there's a big problem in Colombia. A lot of people go, a lot of Americans go and travel in Colombia, right? And when they go and travel, in Colombia, and Americans go over there and they travel and they trust when they go alone, or a lot of these women are working with the TDA. A lot of these women are working with the Tren de Agua. And a lot of these women, what they do, and I'm talking about women at the age, they're your teenagers at the age of 13, 14, 15, 16. A lot of them, they already know their mode operandi. So they go and, they go and they offer themselves to a male. Specifically, the male drags into them to believe that they're 18, 21, right? And ultimately, at the end of the day, the male gets kidnapped. Now, that leads to a lot of men disappearing. Organ harvesting also is happening. And it's unbelievable that this was a market. I went to study a lot of it. I studied a lot of it when I was 2022, 2023, 2024. Also, I studied a lot of it. Last time that I traveled to Colombia was in 2024, last year, and I went directly to that. Why? Because there's a market also. There's a market also that is between Colombia and trafficking women at a small age and exotic women from Colombia, Cuba, Venezuela to Trinidad and Tobago. And from Trinidad, they're trafficking them to first class world countries and also Europe. Somebody is bringing up a topic, and these comments, I really, you're trying to ask me questions of a topic that is not even the topic that I'm talking about. And it is so annoying because I will answer your questions, but you're consistently flagging the live feed with the same question. And I noticed your question, but just for you to understand, we're not talking about that. I will answer your question in a few seconds. So the trafficking of women, it is something that it was something aggravating that I started seeing. I started watching. It's like, wow. Why? Because we went to a bridge that is called Simón Bolívar. This bridge, it is connected from Cúcuta, Colombia, into Venezuela, and we started seeing all the activity of these young little girls coming back and forth with men, older men, and it was in the eyes of everybody, doing service to other adults. Now, what am I saying this? Because this was another market, that it was the enormous trafficking of minors and also children, right, into the United States of America. But there was a lot of trafficking of minors into the United States that the TDA was also operating from South America into the United States. This is another thing that everybody thought, well, they're just trafficking humans. TDA is coming into the United States just to steal, to assault. They're violent, they rape. Yes, but why do they? That's their extra mode operandi. That's how they leave a trail. But the number one purpose, it is what? To exploit women, to exploit children. Also, the trafficking of drugs. They're sicarios. They're bad people. That's their main operandi. What the United States saw inside of the United States of America operating, it is what they do after their mode operandi. It's their killing instinct. It is their animal, evil, and satanic instinct. But their mode operandi, the more profitable operandi, what's that? Exploitation of women, trafficking of guns, sicarios. All of these, there was a lot of young girls. When I was walking on caravans, I was watching that. A lot of adults walking with 12-year-olds, 13-year-olds, 14-year-olds. This is not a conspiracy theory. This is not creating hysteria. This is not fear-mongering. The stupidity language of all these liberals in the United States. You knew that this was happening. These NGOs knew. This is why I have been saying consequences need to happen to these NGOs. Consequences. Immediate consequences, because they were part of it. They knew that TDA was operating, or a cartel was operating on the other side of the ball. And they knew that that child, 12, 13, 14, 15, you did not know what that child has gone through or who that child was passed to be the next owner. That's a reality. That is a reality. Let me put just one user on until you understand to moderate yourself. This is unbelievable, because that was a harsh reality. And this is a reality that it was continuing and continuing and continuing. A lot of people are going on their media and on their networks like, oh yeah, and he was a Philo TDA gang member, and this guy was assaulting, and this guy, yeah, we already know that. We already know that. Everybody knew that from all the way over here. Why he was there, why he was operating. There was a reason why these individuals, they are there. These individuals, they did not cross the border just to profit and to see who they can rob, who they can steal. No, they had a mission. And a lot of them, their mission was exploitation of women. Evidence, which I present to you what just happened. And this is what just happened, just for people to understand how this is a reality. This happened just on the 12th of April. Today is the 13th. It happened yesterday. It says authorities in Cancun, one of the biggest trafficking spots, one of the biggest exploitation spots, and it's a vacation spot for Americans, right? And for a lot of people from the world, don't get me wrong, right? But 16 women were rescued. Foreign women. Listen to this. They were victims of exploitation, sex exploitation. I said, we need to dig more into this. Why 16 women were there? And a lot of these places in Tapachula, where is a border that I have been in, it's a border that a lot of these women, exotic women, they stay there. And you're like wondering, why don't you just move to another state? Why don't you just move to another city? And a lot of them, when you interview them, they say drastically, they tell you, I can't. Why not? Well, if I move, I will get killed. My owner prohibits me to move until I pay off my debt. And when I pay out my debt, I can say I'm free, but sometimes he sells me to another owner, and it is like pivot, bam, 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 bam. So they are never released. So it's slavery. Let me just translate this, what just happened. It says authorities rescued 16 foreign women victims of sex exploitation in Cancun. It says right here, Quintana Roo, the capital of Cancun, is the final tourist destiny in the country for, people. But they have alerted that they are, there's a lot of trafficking of women and exploitation of women. The Mexican authorities rescued this Saturday 16 women. 14 of them were foreigners who were just being trafficked and sexually exploited to work in Cancun in the Caribbean Mexican side. They were at a bar, the fiscal general of the state of Quintana Roo says. But let me just tell you what were the entities of these people. At the place, the agents managed to rescue only 16. Managed, which tells you that these organized groups, they're looking for other outlets to traffic. Now, why am I saying this? Now, I just released a video, right? And I'm going fast forward to pivot to two topics of how the cartel is using now influencers. And these influencers and bloggers, the cartel is investing millions of dollars through them to funnel money into money laundering money, right? But what these influencers do, they drag girls, they drag young girls, they drag women to be famous in their platforms. And what is the end of the game? Exploitation. Also, a lot of these young little girls that they follow these influencers, they get lost, they get missing. This is why Mexico has a lot of missing women problem and a lot of missing people problem. It's a reality. This is not a lie. I will put that video of that part specifically. And let me see if I uploaded that video. I think I put it in X, but I don't think that I uploaded that video, and I forgot to put it on. But let me just go again to tell you guys what is happening with these 16 women. So 9 of them, of the 16 that they were rescued, were Cuban. 9 Cuban. How did the Cuban women ended up in Cancun? Do you think that they were dragged from just Cuba to Cancun? No. There's a market, right? There's a trafficking ring, right? Because they did not get the offering from Cuba to Cancun. No. Of course not. Of course, these women that they were in Cancun, that they were from Cuba, 9 of them from Cuba, ultimately and more definitely, possibly they were working some in another country first when they were dragged into Mexico. So let me just go again and say 9 of them that were from Cuba, 2 of them Mexican, 2 Venezuelan, 2 Colombians, and 1 Jamaican. So you're telling me 2 Venezuelan, 2 Colombian, and 1 Jamaican, and 9 of them Colombian, and 9 of them Cuban, and 2 Mexican also, which they were doing services of sexual character, which they were charging $246. Out of the $246, how much do you think that they were paying the owner of the bar? This is where I tell you, this is TDA, and these are these Colombian cartels operating. This is their mode operandi. This is how you know who is operating under this particular operation. Why? Because this is their mode operandi. Out of the $246 for every single male that they were involved sexually, $147 was for the owner of the bar. Holy moly. So $147 was for the owner of the bar out of 246. 246 minus 147. 246 minus 147 equals $99. So they were making $99. This is slavery. This is the other market that nobody is talking about. Everybody, the trafficking of children, we know the exacerbated trafficking of children. But with the trafficking of children, it's not only to traffic the child. What are they going to do with the child? You have to study that. Why it is their mode to bring a child. Why? Why you're bringing a child of this age? Why? Why you're doing it? And why are you basically profiting out of this child? Now, we're seeing these women, how they're profiting out of it. And I just went to Culiacan, right, to broadcast the war. Went over there to broadcast the war. Basically wanted everybody to see how we were. Let me see if I can find this and clip this. Yes, I wanted to clip this for everybody to see and clip it. I wanted to clip it for people to understand how important it is for everybody to understand. Man, this phone, my God, let me just restart you. Now, where am I going with this? I'm going to the market of the cartel. Everybody thinks that the cartel and the organized crime only works through trafficking drugs and trafficking people and jumping in on the wall. That's not what they do. They have opened their market so much that they have put influencers, bloggers, musical companies to funnel their money, to funnel into money laundry their money, and to also to under the fanatic wing or under these fan bases or under these fan clubs for all of these influencers, all of these bloggers, all of these media influencers or all of these famous people, musicians. Under these people also they are sex slavery women, and they're doing it legally per se. Isn't it unbelievable how they are using the media, the organized crime and the cartel, how they're using the media? And for people to understand, we went over there to Culiacan, Sinaloa, and to cover this, cover the war of the cartels between Los Chapitos, Los Mayitos. We went over there to cover that. And as we were there were until now on this war on the year 2024 with 2025, there has been 7 influencers and bloggers that they have been killed and assassinated by the cartel himself. Why they have assassinated these bloggers and these influencers? And it's real easy. A lot of people do not understand, but the cartel is investing on these influencers. And they're investing. Why? Because they're investing because they know how much they can invest. They know how much they can bring to the table. They know how much they can actually do. And they know how much they can you can do through them. How much they are, and they're getting through them money. And also through them, they can also do all this disaster of, and let me just tell you, I will try to pivot this image right now into the screen so you can actually see how much of a reality this is. How much of a reality this is, because I want to explain this more, methodically for everybody to understand. Let me just let's see if I can get this image right here. And if I can get this image right here, 09DD5E. Let me see if I can get this image right here so I can. Oh my God. Let me see if I can get this image. It's really important that you guys see this image. And when you guys see this image, you're going to understand what am I talking about. And how the cartel now it is using influencers and bloggers through this enormous trafficking ring, exploitation of women. It is incredible what they're doing. It's incredible. Sometimes I really want to leave StreamYard. StreamYard has become something that is really difficult to open up. Here we go. Here we go. So let me just tell you, why am I going with this? Right? So there was this in Culiacan, Sinaloa, where the war is at, where the cartel war is at, right? Before I go on, buy me a coffee. It's right there pinned in the chat on YouTube and also on Facebook. If you guys like to contribute to my independent reporting and travel fund, buy me a coffee is right there. We'll completely appreciate it right now. Thank you so much. So, why are they using, this is the new mode operandi, using influencers and bloggers. So the cartels are fighting in the middle of Mexico in Culiacan. And one of the other cartels, without mentioning who, they flew an aircraft through the whole city of Culiacan. And they started releasing thousands of these banners in the whole city, dropping them in the whole city. Imagine the power that the cartel has, that they flew an aircraft on top of the whole city of Culiacan to drop these banners of these influencers. And as they were dropping these banners of these influencers, they were telling everybody, look what it says right here. It says, Cartel de los Influencers. And it says, on the top, it says, financiers and collaborators of money laundering. Look, imagine. Somebody's asking, what are the red marks? Are the ones that they already been assassinated and they have been eliminated. And it says, the translation says, do you know them? And if you know them, call the police or let us know. These people are, and the translation says, these people are enormous financiers and collaborators really close to one specific cartel. And it says, we are coming for every single one of you. The city in general, it's addressing the city to all citizens in general. These people are not innocent. We ask you in the most respectful manner to pull away from these YouTubers and to stop watching them and to stop sharing their content. These people are financed and they're abusing the system. Now, how the cartel has grown so much. You see right here on the left, all the way to the left right here. Who is this? This is the most famous narco corrido, one of the most famous narco corrido stars in our country of Mexico and worldwide. He was in Jimmy Fallon. His name is Peso Pluma. He's right here. It means that Peso Pluma, they are accusing him of being financed through an organized crime and a cartel. Which means, people, that a lot of these famous artists, famous influencers, famous bloggers, the cartel knows how to use another mechanism of market. And they're extremely smart. This is why I have said this so many times before. So many times before I've said this. Under the Biden administration, the cartel has grown 2 times stronger on technology. This is what I'm talking about, technology. I'm not talking about that they have these drones, magnificent drones, which we already know that they are well equipped. No. What I'm talking about, technology, how technology, this social media, influencers, bloggers, music companies, all of this, they have grown so much that they're using these massive names to funnel into money laundering money. And also, not only that, but to also the other thing. Imagine if you want to be famous and if you want to be through one of these social media influencers, right? And all of these social media influencers, you're like, you know what? Get a couple of girls over here. Get them. Now you get these couple of girls and you want to be with me. Yeah, I want to be in the video. Yeah, but you know what? You got to be with this guy that I know. And you got to go through this party that I tell you. And at this party, you got to hang out with so-and-so. And then when you hang out with so-and-so, you got to go to another party to hang out with so-and-so. But don't worry, you're going to be on all the videos. You're going to get paid. You're going to be on all the fancy cars. You're going to have the fancy jewelry. You're going to be in all social media, your social media platform. I'm going to boost it. I'm going to boom it. I'm going to make a name out of you. It looks like Hollywood, right? It looks like the Hollywood cartel. It's exactly the same. The cartel has taken it to another level. The organized crime has taken it to another level. And the other level is this: using social media influencers to funnel money and to money laundry a lot of this. And sadly, A lot of these people possibly they're not even guilty of the signalized crimes that they're signalizing them about. A lot of them they're like, hey man, I'm just a blogger. What are you doing to me? But you're in the list. You're in this list of them. And they release these banners to basically point the finger to them to say, you're involved. You're money laundering with some particular side of the cartel. This comes with a lot of the people that they're missing, a lot of the women that they're missing, a lot of these young girls that they want to be famous and they want to be on this podcast and they want to be on these videos and they want the likes and they want the views and they want the millions of shares. This comes with this. This is the other reality that nobody wants to talk about. This is how the mode operandi, it is a copy paste of every single organized crime that is in South America. You know what? Get me that Colombian. You know what? Get me that Venezuelan. Get it over here. Put them through migrating, pa pa pa. I'll get her. It's incredible. It's a market now. And they're extremely smart on how to use their money, how to invest in their money and get great profit out of it. A lot of these, influencers, sadly, they have been assassinated and they're not guilty. They're being used. A lot of people say, oh, they're guilty. Well, they're young. They're being used. They are being used. I don't blame them. You know why I don't blame them? Because they offered them a job and they're like, oh, okay, I'll who's the owner? Oh, he's this guy and he's an owner of a record company. And they're like, oh, okay, he's an owner of a record company. Then they're already in there. You're like, oh my God, I did not know that this was the owner. I did not know that this was the guy. This goes beyond understanding the situation and beyond understanding what is happening. This is why I have said so many times before. It's not only about deporting. It is not only about getting them and getting them out. It's to follow the tail. It's to follow how this and when and how we can eradicate this problem. Because you can eradicate the problem and you can start deporting. That's number one, right? The number one thing. Deport, deport, deport. Get it out. All right. But when they start funneling more people through these industries, this is why Los Alegres del Barranco, one of the bands, so let me just put this right here, this video right here, that it happened, this video, and let me just type this. This is what happened. So Los Alegres del Barranco is a band. It's a musical band from Mexico. And they had all the opportunities to be in the United States and to play their shows and to do all of these things, right? So Los Alegres del Barranco, they were doing a concert. And in the middle of the concert, they played a song. And this song was to honor one of the kingpins and drug lords of the CJNG cartel. Because of this song of Los Alegres del Barranco, here is the CJNG cartel leader. They did this and they were glorifying this kind of music. And this was a cartel song that got all the way into the ears of the White House. And because they were glorifying and they were playing this song and they actually did a whole song about him, about this kingpin and leader of the cartel, the Trump administration canceled their visas. They just canceled their visas because they're singing into Los Alegres del Barranco. Now, What has this gone into an effect? Has this created an effect on people that they are actually singing narco corridos or to the cartels? Have they learned their lesson a little bit? And I will tell you, because of this, that they canceled their visas, and because they canceled their visas, they cannot play in the United States, which is the biggest market in the world, right? For them. At first, they were coming out and they were saying, "Oh, we don't care. Who cares? We got our support. We got our people." Then later on, they came out and say, "We apologize for what we have done." Too late. They already canceled your visas. What happened? This is what happened. There's another guy. His name is Luis R. Conriquez. Let me just put this video. And this is what happened. Luis R. Conriquez said on the show just recently said, "We are not going to play cartel songs." Guess what happened when they said that they were not going to play cartel songs? The audience exploded. And the audience started booing them. The normalization of an illicit and illegal conduct, of which I have said so many times before, right? I have said this so many times before. The normalization of an illicit and illegal conduct has done this. That a lot of people now think that this is normal to sing to a cartel member. Right? This is what happened. Look, let me put the video right here. Let me put the video. So Luis R. Conriquez says, you know what? He tells this audience, "I'm not going to sing narco corridos." Why? Because he knew that if he starts singing narco corridos or to these cartel bosses, he was going to get his visa canceled, or he was going to get his green card canceled, and he was going to basically affect all his team of his music, right? So the normalization of this conduct in our society of Mexico to listen to cartel music has infiltrated so much that the people got upset. He said, "I'm not playing corridos tonight. I'm not playing to the cartel bosses tonight. I'm only going to play music that glorifies people that they have made it through or people that they have made it." This is what happened because he said that. And why he said that? Because the Trump administration has canceled visas of people that they're singing to cartel thugs or to cartel bosses. Right? So it's amazing. A lot of people say not really different than rappers glorifying sick stuff. Yes, not really different. I don't know why they haven't done anything to them also, because it kills their market. But you're actually killing another market, which, as a Mexican, I tell you, narco corridos are not constitutional. They're anti-constitutional. But this is what happened. Let me put the video for you guys to see. This is what happened. So he says, "I'm not playing." People start booing, right? They start booing. They start saying, "Boo, boo." And things started flying. It says, "I'm not going to play corridos." People start booing. People start saying, "You get out of here. We don't want you here." And everything ended up in a brawl. Look, their team gets out and they start throwing all of this stuff. Look at that. Because Luis R. Conriquez decided to say, "I'm not singing narco corridos," which tells you to everybody. Look at that. This is a disaster. The normalization of this conduct has exacerbated so much that people got accustomed to that. People got accustomed to it. Now, look at this young kid, got hurt. Now, I would like to say, there's a comment right here, and I will. Joy, how you doing? Good. Why these people who hate America? They don't hate America. They glorify cartel thugs, and there's also cartel inside of the United States of America. How do you think that the drugs get distributed in your communities? They don't get distributed on their own. But I'm reading your comment, and I agree with your comment. Uplift criminal behavior. They need to have their visas and green cards canceled. And I think that also the rappers that they're glorifying. Oh, I think I'm Big Meech. Hallelujah. What are you glorifying? If the problem is going to get eliminated, getting bricks done, done, na 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 na. If the problem is going to get eliminated, let's eradicate the problem from the root. Let's eradicate this problem from the beginning and also from the distribution standpoint. Why? Because also the rap culture has adapted themselves to the narco culture themselves. They adapt themselves, together. So if they are canceling their visas, which that is a consequence of you singing to a cartel group, and now one guy that sings narco corridos has adapted and has learned his lesson to say, I'm not singing narco corridos because if I sing narco corridos, I'm going to get my visa revoked. So I don't want to get my visa revoked. It is not because of me. It is because of my team. And I don't want my team to lose their jobs, right? And if their team loses their jobs because of him taking a decision that I'm going to sing cartel songs, and so it's going to complicate the lives of everybody. So it's like, hey, back off, man. Back off and let me just talk to the industry. What is going to happen? Are we going to be able to sing these kind of songs anymore? If we're done, where are we going to be able to sing them without us having a consequence to not get our visas revoked in the United States? Why? Because all these drug lords, their main goal is to traffic fentanyl, traffic cocaine, and ultimately, as I'm pointing out to you guys, these influencers also that they're involved, it is to funnel in money laundering into the United States, right? So at the end of the day, they're like, okay, are you going to glorify this? I'm going to take away your privilege to come into the United States and to keep making money out of you glorifying these thugs or these bosses or these cartel kingpins. This also has an effect in the rap industry, a lot into the rap industry. So if they're going to be completely directly being strict and also saying that this is criminal behavior, I hope that they are doing it also inside of the United States culture with the rap industry also, or whatever industry that is glorifying thugs or glorifying cartel distribution of drugs, because this is also, it is being hugely one of the big topics in Mexico that the president of Mexico already said. Although a lot of people say I don't agree with their leftist, and ultimately I don't agree with her at all right now, saying that the missing people, it is there's some individuals that are saying that it's not a forced, kidnapped, missing abductions of people. That these abductions have been because of the cartel also, not because they were forced. You got to be kidding me! It's the most biggest stupidity statement that I ever heard in my life. But other than that, the president of Mexico has said narco corridos are going to be prohibited in Mexico. We already have that in Baja California, in the city of Tijuana. The past mayor, Montserrat Caballero, also tried to stop that for narco corridos to be implemented in the city of Tijuana because of the narco culture. It is so funneling and infiltrating this mindset in our youth. That is the normalization, as I have said, of illicit and illegal conduct to be normalized. How am I saying this? I just went to Culiacan. And what I saw in Culiacan is the young kids that they're going to elementary, they're going to junior high, they're going to high school. They're doing these emergency drills in case there's a shootout, right? So now everybody's getting normalized. You hear a siren like, oh, it's not an earthquake. It's not a building falling. It is not a siren because it's an emergency. Somebody's having a heart attack. No, it is because of an emergency drill of a shootout between a cartel and another cartel. And now it's getting normalized that the kids drop to the floor and they're praying with each other. And I'm like, I'm the opposition cartel and you're the other one. Yeah. And it's being normalized. So normalized. Now, that needs to end. It's being normalized that we walk out and we see a shooting. Is being normalized that we recent shootings in the back of our in the houses is being normalized as you see a decapitated body, you see a dismembered body, you see a head. So normalized. Now that was an abduction that happened. That has been happening for years. There was 6 kidnappings and 20 people missing. Now that has happened for years. Why we have to normalize to that? And when you normalize to that particular situation, it is a culture of adapting to a society that is violent. This is the way you got to be raised. It is like normalizing that your country is a third world class country, that you had to kill yourself with 3-4 jobs to make it. This is why migration happens in all third world class countries. Why? Because they are normalizing you to adapt yourself, that this is the system, that this is you're part of the corruption, that now to get, if you ran a stoplight and the cop stops you, you're like, hey man, I'll give you $20 and let me go. Oh yeah, it's a normalization of illicit and illegal conduct. So polluted in our society. It's a root that is so polluted. It's a cancer that is in a metastasized, in the metastasized level, but it doesn't go away. It keeps metastasizing one day and the other and the other and the other. And it keeps profoundly growing and growing and growing and growing because the government, it is allowing it to happen. Because the government wants that. Because it's part of their strategy to keep us down there and not keep us up here. To keep us uneducated, keep us stupid, as to say, look what the President of Mexico, I will end this. Look what the President of Mexico said the other day. This is how you say how stupid they want to keep us. She said the other day, just for everybody to understand, she said, I found a solution and how to lower down the cost of electricity in our country. And there was a lot of people like, yeah, tell us the solution, Miss President. She said, I will tell you the solution and how we're going to lower the cost of electricity. The solution is, if you use less electricity, you're going to pay less electricity. So the solution is, let's start saving electricity. And everybody was like, wow, yay. Exactly like Chavez, exactly like Castro, exactly like all these communists. Don't use water. Because if you use more water, you're going to spend more. So stop using water and it's less water. Don't use much money. Because if you spend more money, you're not going to have enough money. So save money. Don't get sick, because if you get sick, you're going to need medicine. And if you don't have money to pay the medicine and you don't have water to this, and that, so you have to be healthy. Save yourself from all that atrocity. Socialism, the social mentality, stupidity. You get society adapted to those kind of circumstances. And then you have this, a normalization of this. Isn't it crazy? How it is a step and a stepping stone, right? It goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and it keeps growing and growing and growing and growing into a point that you're brainwashed, into a point that you got this narco culture going on, and you're like, well, and let me just tell you, just to finish this off, and I will listen to your questions. I will give it 5 minutes of questions, just for everybody to understand. If Donald Trump wouldn't be in office, Mexico would not be doing anything right now to fight this off. They will be sending their statistics and their stats and saying, "Oh, this is what we're doing. Oh, yes, we already done this. Oh, we extradited and we're done." You wouldn't be doing squat. If Biden was president, you would not even have a border right now. This business of the cartel will be booming like a mother, man. Colombia will be like, oh, it's not only drugs, baby. It's money, it's exploitation of women, children, minors. Let's get it going. Let's start growing this, baby. But if because of Donald Trump, the business has ended in Colombia, 99% of the people that they were traveling through the Darien Gap has decreased. That place is a ghost town right now. And Donald Trump is basically pushing the Mexican government to do something about it. They extradited 29 narco terrorists. They are now finding laboratories and they're dismantling them. They found the biggest laboratory in Zacatecas like a month ago. They found the biggest laboratory in Zacatecas, more than 44 acres with machinery and more than 700 million doses of methamphetamine. It's the biggest laboratory possibly in history. And it was operating under AMLO, the AMLO administration. And they just found it in the middle of nowhere. Everybody like, wow, the biggest seizure, yay, president. And which administration it was operating. These fanatics of this political party, they cannot blame the past administration because the past administration is their master. So what they're going to say now, it is because of the Trump administration that are being pushed. The threat of a tariffs completely, drastically changing. Now it's changing to this. I will postpone it to April. I will postpone it to May. I will stop. It is just, a managed way to basically renegotiate what you're doing and give me results. It is the reality. Hope that this video is explanatory to you on how a lot of people are saying, well, the market is drugs and the market is trafficking children. No, señores. You guys aren't, these people are not done. These people have music industries, have influencers, have bloggers. They know how to use the social media to funnel in money laundering. This goes beyond what they have done. And under the Biden administration, this grew 2 times bigger. They gave them 2 times the power of economical. And when I say technology, I'm not saying technology just if they have an AK-47 with some technology to shoot 70 million kilometers. No, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking technology of, social media devices, influencers, bloggers, all of this. They're using them and being paid off great amount of money to move a lot of money and to move a lot of the dark industry through them that they don't even know. They do not even know. These influencers and this bloggers, they just want to do their little podcast, get, be famous, generate their own money and their pocket money through views and all this. But they don't even know that they're being used for one political purpose. And one purpose. And it is that other industry. Thank you so much for joining in. I'm Oscar Blue for Real America's Voice News, 6:50 in the evening, April 13 of the year 2025. I have gone into this show 1 hour and 9 minutes. I will be we'll be accepting questions. So Jeffrey, Oscar Blue, thanks for putting the word out there from your country of Mexico. Thank you so much. God bless you. Just if you guys want to drop in a question or drop in a comment, go ahead. Joy says, remember when Eric Holden was selling guns to the cartel Fast and the Furious? It was the worst administration ever. The Obama administration, I think it is the worst president ever in history. He was the one that opened the progressive liberal agenda to come to the West. It is because of him that this disaster has acknowledged. And, a lot of the policies now, little clips and videos are coming out of Obama speaking, and he sounds really conservative in some ways, right? But he is just all talk and no action. But it's so amazing how they're getting exposed by themselves. With their own words, they're getting exposed now. They're blasting all these videos of them speaking when they were president. And they're like, what the hell? This is like a policy that right now it's happening. Like they're going to get massively deported. And it's Hillary Clinton saying exactly the same thing. We're going to close the border and every single one that comes illegally is going to be turned back. And it's Obama speaking. And you're like, what the hell is going on? You didn't see massive protests against these people. Why? Because one of them was, had a little brown collar like me. And it's like, oh, he's brown. Oh, he's okay. He's one of us. And the other one, she's a progressive libtard that was for abortion and all this kind of stuff. Don't touch her. She's good. But when it comes to immigration, they were all the same. Great question. Is anyone cleaning up the Darien Gap from all that garbage left? More than 60 tons of garbage. That is not a pristine jungle. It was a pristine jungle. It is not anymore. Plus, adding the fact that all the collateral damage that it caused to the water, it is highly contaminated. It is going to take years for that water to be clean again. Second of all, there's more than 60 tons of trash. That is not only trash, it is decomposed bodies that are never going to be found, thousands of them possibly. Adding the fact that, the wildlife has completely affected the wildlife, you know, and ultimately this wildlife, it is not coming down to where they're supposed to be drinking water. They live up in the streams, up in the high 2,200 feet in the air of the jungle. Plus adding how it has affected the culture, because the culture of the tribes inside of the jungle that they manage the jungle, they got accustomed to the market of the being guides of the migrant inside, and also the market inside of these villages, selling internet, selling clothing, selling food. So now it has disappeared. So now they need to go back to their roots. But the jungle has been completely so destroyed that they're waiting for the government to say, hey, when are you going to help us? And you're like, well, you were part of it. No, but you allow it. And you're like, it's like a whole disaster that it was made just because of these globalists, humanitarians, wannabe humanitarians, George Soros, Alex Soros, Antonio Guterres from the United Nations, OIM, UNHCR, all these NGOs, worthless, fake humanitarians. All of you guys were fake, making money out of human misery, and asking for federal grants to Chuck Schumer, that it was funneling millions of dollars to all these NGOs. Now you find it in USAID. Have they cleaned up the Darien? Of course not. And the government of Panama is like, well, what are we going to do? It's like a whole disaster. Colombia's not cooperating. Why? Because Colombia is part of the cartel. Colombia was highly controlled by the Clan del Golfo. Petro is he's defending the TDA gang members, saying, poor little man, poor them. They have been so marginalized by society. Get the hell out of here, man. This guy's a criminal. This guy's a thug. And he's a president of Colombia. And he's being paid off. Of course he's going to say, no, don't talk bad about them. So, Christy Nolan said, well, you're saying that they're poor people? I'm going to send you all of these poor people to you so you can take care of them and you can rehab them. Let's see how you do. Questions, people, before I go. An hour in 13. So it's been a great live feed. Buy Me a Coffee is right there, pinned in the chat for people that want to contribute to my independent reporting and travel fund. Thank you so much. When did Cartels start? Well, that's a deep question. Go ahead. Questions, people, comments before I go. That's been a great live feed. I think so. Go ahead. Questions. Thank you. It's Mina Harrington. How you doing? God bless you. Thank you so much. Oscar, what do you think about the prison in El Salvador? Do you think that it's cruel? No, it's not. It's not cruel. Cruel is the crimes that they were committing. Cruel, it is the crimes that they're committing. What crimes did they have committed? The MS gang, decapitation, terrorism, terrorizing society, extorting people, extorting the innocent, kidnapping, rape. That is cruelty. And that cruelty needs to be lesson learned. You're never going to do it again. Never in your life are going to do it again. It's the center of confinement of terrorism. And all these gangs, they need to be designated as terrorists because that is what they do. They terrorize the society. So I don't think that is cruel. They have made some mistakes, send people that they're not from the TDA, which I believe that is a mistake. You want to deport them, go ahead, deport them, man, but be sure who you're sending, and be sure to do a methodical and meticulous study on these people. Why? Because you need to let the government know this is what he was aligned to, the study on the hope on the person. Okay. Don't make a mistake sending them because you're fueling the left and you're giving ammo to the left for now to protest and say, oh, this is a problem. Look, they're inhuman. They're treating them inhumanly. This is why I have said, they needed to put a task force of journalists to expose every single of these cases. Look, this is a hypothetical example, right? You got an outlet or you got a guy that is an independent journalist. Hey, you're going to take care of this two cases. This is Hector and Juan. Okay, how's everybody doing? Thank you. This is Oscar. This is Hector and Juan. They are being returned back to Secot. The reason why, these are the crimes that they have been committed. Pa, 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 pa. And you have to explain this. Why? Because it's the security of the nation. And they're going to be in Secot for a number of reasons. And, also there's the security factor of the personas, right? Because they have human rights also, but it's the freedom of press. So you have to ultimately, expose this into another level. The tattoos, a lot of them, they don't have tattoos. Just because they have the tattoos doesn't mean that they're part of it. A lot of them, they don't have any. And a lot of them, they're women. I just told you about this, how they use them. So a lot of them, they're women. Okay. Griff, sir, why is there zero talk about military age Chinese that illegally enter the U.S.? I broadcast that a lot. I was in the Darien Gap, and I was outside in the camps of the Darien Gap, and I have a video of possibly like 100 men of China, and all of them, they're telling me that they're from China. I don't know why. And we also have evidence. Ben Berquam and myself, we were in the middle of the jungle, and we interviewed a migrant from China, and he actually told us there is infiltrated Chinese spies coming into the United States of America. Now you see that a lot of the exchangeable students, apparently, they're being paid off by the Chinese Communist Party to spy and to give information. So what makes you think that there was not all these migrants that were coming in from China being paid off to spy? It's, I don't think that, there's a question of doubt. Michael Siegel. Oscar, the trafficking of our sisters and brothers, cousins, aunts, and uncles, children and grandchildren are being abused and lost. What can we do? What can we personally, what can personally do to make a difference? We need to start doing campaigns. And also, that's another thing that I'm like to do, speak publicly. To speak publicly and do speeches and do public presentations to speak about this and how, second chances in life can happen ultimately, but also how the immigration factor and the consequence of all of it. People need to start acknowledging and this needs to be a topic of the table for your children. And it is uncomfortable. And family orientation, it's uncomfortable, but it needs to happen. Why? Because it's a matter of directing the society to where it was before, and it is wrongfully directed right now. There's agendas, there's freedom of speech. The United States of America has the First Amendment, but these topics need to be on the table. They need to be on the table, and education starts in the house. It starts in the household. It starts in the family. Fathers need to be fathers again. Mothers need to be mothers again. And they need to take the toro por los cuernos. They need to take the bull from the horns. To say, hey man, I'm the one that is managing the family, not the government, not the state. You're letting the government and the state manage your family and your household. That is communism. That is socialism. The one that has the handles and education in your family, it is you. It is the parent. So, in terms to these topics that they are really sensitive, and it talks about migration of people and the things that they have gone through and all this kind of stuff, you need to have the sensitive factor to say, hey, you know what, man, this is actually what people have gone through. I remember, you know, talking to, and I will tell you this personal experience talking to my kid. I have a picture of me carrying a child that he was, I think it was 10, 11 years of age, and we were practicing soccer, and he wanted to do a chilena. A chilena is kind of like it's really difficult. It is it's kind of like you flip and you hit the ball when you're flipping, and you actually do it in the air. And he was telling me it's impossible, Dad. It's impossible. It's nothing is. I don't think that. And he was mad and he was upset. So I had this long talk with him. I said, you know what, son? I have seen children your age walking through the most horrible circumstances without any shoes. And they're in their minds and their hearts, they're thinking, I can go to a better place. And I have to, and they have gone through jungles, they have gone through seas, they have gone through deserts, they have gone through animals, they have gone through coyotes, traffickers, into the most horrible circumstances they have gone through without food, without water. And guess what, son? They make it. Why do you think they make it? Because the word impossible and the word fear was made to challenge the human being to make it, to challenge the character of the human being. So, those kind of things we need to do in our household. We need to challenge ourselves in the most positive, godly way to do better and to challenge our views ultimately. As if it doesn't matter. This is why I say it doesn't matter if you're a progressive liberal or you're left, you're right. If you had the time of the day to sit down, and if you don't want to talk, and if you don't want to talk to him, don't talk to him, because he's not going to change his views. Okay, that's your views, that's your views. But in your household, you're the one that has the control. And it starts with your house. And from your house, it expands little by little. Also, we got to do it with love. We got to do it believing in God. We got to do it with all these things that evolved, getting better as a human being. It's you grow, they grow, and they grow, you grow more. So it starts with that. And what can we do about it? That's what we can personally do to make a difference. Get better on your on your in your basically in your interior circle. That is so important. Keep your circle small, but that circle that is small, it's progressively strong. And that can lead to an example to other topics to talk about. When you bring the word Trump now into the table, it is such a difficult topic. It is such a difficult topic when you bring word Trump into the table. When I bring it into the table, when I'm with my cousins, that they are, some of them they're far leftists, some of them they're independent, some of them they don't care. But when they bring the word Trump and they see me, I have to bring my game, but I have to be friendly. They're my family, so I have to say, you know how many people they died under Biden? And like, no, this is how many people, man. This is how many people they have died under this administration and this. So you got to be prepared also. You cannot be just spitting out there, I'm a patriot, I'm this, I'm that. Everybody knows that. You're preaching to the choir. You need to be also educated on numbers, educated on what has happened, educated on also if you're wrong, admit that you're wrong, because that's one of the things about being humble. You have to admit that you're wrong so you can learn from each other. You know, that's one of the beautiful things about this. You got to be humble to say, I'm wrong. I was wrong. Yeah, you're wrong. Let's get better on that. But ultimately, when you bring the name Trump into the table, got to be really sensitive and careful, man. Got to be extremely prepared because they're going to challenge you. It's always it's like when back in the day. Let me put an example. Back in the day, you know, who was the most important figure? And let me just close this. Who has been the most important figure, the most important human being, and the most perfect human being that ever walked this planet? And I will let that answer into the chat. That perfect human being, he gave everything for everybody. And he was spit on, he was hurt, he was tortured, he was signalized, he was insulted. They threw rocks. Lastly, they crucified him, they torture him. They did the most horrible things to him. Not only that, they persecuted all his disciples. And he was the most beautiful man that showed humbleness to the world. So we need to be humble. It doesn't matter the insult that comes, we need to be humble with that. It doesn't matter if it comes with a rock. And if they, I have a saying, you want me to throw roses, but you're throwing rocks at me. We have to be humble with that. We need to be humble with that. So this topic that you just opened up about what can we do, it comes to the education of the family, comes to basically tell your kids and tell your significant other or whoever you're with, we need to get better on this. That's what it comes to. How's everybody doing? Thank you so much for joining in. God bless you. It is 7:08. I'm going to go and have some dinner. Thank you for joining in. Buy me a coffee. It is pinned on the chat and also on Facebook and also on YouTube. Thank you so much for collaborating and contributing to my work. I appreciate every single one of you for all the support that we have received and everything. Thank you so much. Anonymous also bought me 3 coffees, so thank you so much. Thank you. God bless you. Stay safe. We are going to do a show also tomorrow, talk about different topics, and also I'm going to do a Spanish show to talk about our visit in Culiacan. That is extremely important. God bless you. Stay safe, and like we always say, people, God's plan, it is our mission. Nice talking to you guys.